Thanks, Rod. My name's Scott, but Max, dude, my new best friend. I'm so excited about this. I've got a lot of questions. I guess we do have a time limit, but yeah. First of all, who are you? Where do you work? And what are you working on?
Hi, everyone. Can you hear me okay? Yeah. I'm really bad at using these, so I got to double check. I'm Max. I'm on the Proto team at Block. For anyone who somehow is not aware of this, Block is, we're the makers of Square and Cash App. And Proto is an initiative aimed at decentralizing Bitcoin mining, starting with hardware supply and working towards distribution of hash rate. And
This is huge. This is so huge.
So,
all right.
Yeah, we're really excited about this, and there are a handful of things that we're working on all at once in service of this mission. The first is we're making Bitcoin mining chips. So it's come up a handful of times here, but this is like a really crazy undertaking, really capital intensive, really specialized, and something that we're really excited to enable a lot of what this room is working on. Today, so many of the things that you all work on, step one is scavenge chips out of other systems, and we're really excited to change that. The second thing is mining rigs. So sometimes we'll use the term ASIC to cover the whole system. But in this case specifically, when you hear me say rig, I'm talking about a machine with multiple hash boards in it and quite a bit of hash rate. And the third thing is a software stack on top of that. And we'll get into this more later, but we think that there's a lot more to the overall equation of mining than just one number or even two numbers. Philip touched on this a little bit earlier, but there's a lot of things to balance that I think many of you know even better than we do. And we're learning from that and figuring out how we can help, not just at kind of the hardware layer, but above that as well. And this is really fun to be here for my first time at this, which has been an awesome event so far. And one of the things I love about being able to talk about what we're doing here is that in so much of prior product development, at least for me personally in my career, even at Block, we've actually done it pretty secretively for other products. I think lots of the phones in your guys' pockets, you probably had big announcements where it was the first time a company talked about what they were building, and we really got away from that with the Proto Initiative, and we're here, building and learning from you guys, and really excited to be able to talk about that kind of along the way instead of all at once.
Oh my gosh, hearing this is like, it's blowing my mind. I want this so badly. Let's see. So, right now we have one manufacturer that has, I don't know, like 80 to 99% of the market. What's wrong with that? Why might we need someone else to perhaps work on mining hardware, specifically ASICs, the chips?
Yeah, so this is really core, actually not even just to the Proto Initiative, but actually to Block in general. So there are a lot of different things we're building on Bitcoin. We've actually been building on Bitcoin for a long time. We first launched the ability to buy and sell Bitcoin in Cash App in, I think, late 2017. And we see Bitcoin as a tool for economic empowerment, which is the company's mission. And part of the reason we think it's the right tool for that is the permissionlessness. It's the distributed nature, decentralized nature of the network. And without a doubt, the centralization pressures in mining, and really at every point in the stack in mining, are a threat to that. And we think we can help.
A lot of people here are probably familiar with the existing hardware that's out there and kind of what you can get and what it does. But it sounds like you kind of have a different model for how you're going to get this out there, different ideas. Like, what might people be able to expect is, what can they get from you when you release this?
Yeah, one of the things that we've been doing, and I know this sounds really crazy to say, but we've been talking to customers and listening to what they want.
Wait, what? You can't do it that way.
I think many of you have struggled with products in this space that clearly that didn't happen beforehand. And one of the things that we've learned is that, while efficiency matters a lot, there's a lot more to mining than that. And I think Philip touched on this briefly in some of the discussion he had about kind of the spreadsheet he's using to model and figure out what hardware to purchase. And there are a lot of different inputs going into that. And one of the things we've heard repeatedly is things that kind of funnel into something I'll refer to as uptime here. or total cost of ownership. And sometimes that's, Philip mentioned depreciation, for example, and how he's computing what level of reliability to expect from a machine and then converting that to depreciation. And some of that is operating and maintenance costs. And some of that is how many 10-hour drives you're going to have to some of the remote sites that we just talked about. And we are really focused on improving uptime for miners. And one of the analogies I'll draw here is, if you look at your power bill, you don't get charged for the kilowatts you have in your house. You get charged for kilowatt hours. You get charged for how much actual usage you got. When you spec a solar system or a solar energy system, it doesn't matter if your system is 10 kilowatts. It matters how much you produce during the day, how many kilowatt hours you produce during the day. And in producing Bitcoin, what matters is your terahash hours. It matters how much you actually were able to put towards the network. And we're really focused on all of the things that go into that. And one of the things that's really awesome about being at Block is it's like far from the first time we've thought about many of those inputs. We built and shipped tens and tens of millions of hardware units, really more than that. Many of our team actually worked on phones that are in your pocket that have shipped in the hundreds of millions. And as a result, we have a ton of experience doing things like reliability testing and understanding what breaks in advance and getting in front of that and bringing a product that we're really proud of to serve many of the folks in this room and the industry in general.
I first heard about this project a while back. I was incredibly excited, to say the least. I've been eagerly awaiting the release of the Block ASICs, but I'm not sure people here necessarily are aware. Like, is it easy or hard to make an ASIC chip?
Oh, it's really easy.
It's really easy. Okay, so
it's a great question, and we've been working on Proto for a while now, and what goes into this is an incredible range of capital investment, relationship building with silicon manufacturers, really deep, intense silicon design, and everything on top of that to build systems as well. And we have silicon back. We've been really excited about this. So we're during this year, we're going to have silicon in customers' hands. We're going to have rigs in customers' hands. This is a huge year for Proto. And even though I'm not sharing specs or anything right now, you should expect to see some really, really big things from us on both of those fronts this year.
If you brought any of the chips with you and they're in your pocket, you can just give them to me right after this. That's fine. We can wait until after. Yeah.
Well, speaking of giving chips,
yeah, I was going to ask. I'm very interested in getting access to these chips. I work on the BitX project, and we're currently suffering under the fact that our ASIC chip partner is not a partner. It's not even like a it's not a partnership. We unsolder the chips out of it. This is not sustainable. This is no way. Like, you go to a manufacturer and you're like, step one, just unsolder these chips. Like, they're like, get out of here. So in order to move this revolution, this mission forward, we need access to chips that come like new in packages that manufacturer might be more familiar with. What do you think?
I think it's a great idea. So one of the things that came up earlier in the day is we talked a little bit about the 256 Foundation. And so for those who don't know, the mission is to dismantle the proprietary mining empire.
Yes.
And
let's go.
We think that's really cool, and we're really excited about what the Foundation is up to. I think folks here may have seen some of the efforts announced by the Foundation that to build really actually the entire mining stack in an open way. And we love what the Foundation is up to and want to help enable it. And so we're donating 256,000 chips, specifically Intel chips, right now. So we're donating Intel BZM2, and we're really excited to enable the kind of development that the Foundation is fostering, and to continue to partner and build from there.
Hell yeah!
Whoa, let's go. Yeah, huge round of applause. This is huge. Yes.
256,000 chips. This is the best week ever.
And they're like new on a reel and everything. Like,
Turns out.
we don't have to unsolder them. I don't even know what we're going to do with this. Thank you. This is huge. Really appreciate your support, Block support. This is going to go a long way. I think we're going to see some new mining machines. You know, these chips are they're a little bit old, right? Like Intel made them a while ago. The project has been canceled, but they're still perfectly good. And I think that they are, well, this is a donation, so they're very low cost, which is great. I think this is going to make some fantastic miners and kind of get things ramped up for when we get the block chips in hand.
Absolutely.
So right on. Thank you. So let's we got Tyler over here. He's a big heat reuse guy, right? And so I'm pretty interested in applications of miners that basically are like completely unfulfilled right now. You know, you've talked to, I guess in your market research, you've talked to all sorts of different miners, and we've heard here about like lots of different applications of mining. Yeah, do you think that there's a way that sort of a new chip manufacturer can make inroads there?
Absolutely. And I think maybe the first thing I'd say here is I love to get up here and tell you about all the things that Block can do and all the things that we're great at on Proto. I also should tell you that we can't do everything ourselves. We definitely can't, and we need to work with a wide range of startups, initiatives, open source projects, lots of the things that many of you represent. And we think there's a huge opportunity in heat reuse. I think Tyler gave some stats out loud earlier, and we couldn't agree more. It's a fantastic application for this. We're also really interested in stranded energy capture, which I think has come up quite a bit here, grid over provisioning. The list goes on, and you don't see us here on Proto announcing a heater product today because we're really focused on building chips. We're really focused on building rigs, and those are some of the places that we can really help kind of catalyze basically an ecosystem of new innovative Bitcoin mining applications. And I think one of our best levers here is providing chips. And as we've talked about here, that doesn't even exist today. And I think we're going to be really well positioned to help out with the kinds of efforts that many of you are undertaking. I'm personally really excited about those. I think that they're these kind of ridiculous win-win-win types of equations where Bitcoin mining is a monetization mechanism anywhere in the world for new infrastructure development and for grid over provisioning, I think just has a ton of possibility. So really excited to work with lots of you.
I'm pretty excited about the chips. You mentioned that. Did I mention that? You mentioned briefly, but that you're going to be making some rigs, like the full-on machines as well. Announced earlier on was the MDK, the Mining Development Kit. This came out of Block. It uses the Intel chips. It was kind of got out. It was put out there to some people in the industry as a way for you to try out the models, to kind of tune some of your processes and experiment and learn on how to develop the firmware, the hardware, power supply, all that good stuff. How's it been going with making sort of the full stack, like if you're making the rigs and everything that includes?
Yeah, so one of the efforts that we have underway that I actually didn't mention earlier before is our mining development kit. Today that's based on Intel silicon as well. And of course, over time, we'll develop versions of it that incorporate Block silicon. And what we're doing with MDK is trying to enable folks to develop both with our chips, but also with our hashboard designs. And alongside that, we plan to publish a full technical package with not just data sheets and so forth, but also code and hardware designs that enable people to make modifications if they want, or have the information they need to bet big on building on top of it. And we think this is going to be a really powerful way to enable a lot of new applications, quite in keeping with what I mentioned before, where we kind of can't be everywhere at once. We think this is a great way to enable people who have new and innovative ideas.
I'm pretty excited about these chips. we're trying to dismantle the incumbent mining industry and promote free and open Bitcoin mining. But one of the reasons why we want to do that is to take advantage of this sort of exponential growth that comes with just getting this stuff out there. When you don't have to ask for permission to start building, I think all sorts of people can just dive in and do stuff, can try things. And we were talking about this earlier, like, there's no way we could possibly know the depth of the things that people are going to come up with. We've seen this in other industries. And I guess I'm wondering, in your market research, have you come across some current practices, some things that can be changed, like right out of the gate, that can just provide immediate value to your customers, both chips, machines, firmware?
Yeah, so I think we've talked about one, which is relieving you of scavenging chips for machines.
I'm pretty excited
but
about
above that, I think, and we talked briefly about reliability, and that's definitely another big one.
Yeah.
But maybe one I'll highlight here is that I think today the software stack that arrives with a very expensive machine leaves a lot on the table for customers, meaning that people end up feeling like either maybe the firmware that arrives on the machine, if it hasn't been subverted in transit, and is actually legitimate firmware, may still be short features like maybe a customer is going to run it in an immersion setting and actually it doesn't deal very well with fans being unplugged and really basic things like that. There are also the pretty significant pressure, I think, on operators to want to understand that they're getting the most out of their hardware. And a lot of the firmware that arrives on machines initially leaves people thinking that they're leaving performance on the table. And pretty objectively they are, given some of the, I think we had Brains on stage earlier, and they could speak quite clearly to that. And given the prevalence of Inish and so forth, I think people are often leaving performance on the table. And so certainly a focus for us is we want to make sure that the software that arrives with what is a significant capital investment for mining operators really gets them the most for their money.
Going back to the chips, making an ASIC is really hard. I'm just curious if there's any any stories you can tell us, trials and tribulation about building this. It's a massive undertaking, and making a semiconductor is hard, but this is like next level hard. Is there any interesting things you can talk to about this process that you've been going through?
Sure. I think the first thing I should say is that we're very lucky. We've worked with our silicon manufacturing partner for a long time before this. A lot of people may not know this, but Block has actually developed silicon for many years. We started building silicon, I think, in 2015. And it wasn't Bitcoin mining silicon. It was focused on payments. So the Square side of the business, we built a team internally and shipped custom silicon in our payment terminals that many of you have probably used. Sorry, I'm getting over a cold. And in a couple of years ago, we started bringing some of those folks over to work on Bitcoin mining silicon. But one of the challenges in here is that, and Scott touched on this, is that it's not like building any other silicon. Folks are used to bringing IPs together from a variety of third parties, making an application processor. There are a lot of challenges that come with that are well trodden in industry. And the challenges that come with Bitcoin mining are wildly different. They're hyper optimizations at incredibly detailed levels to achieve the performance that our competitors, have achieved. And one of the things that we're up against is, the 99% market share player has been at this a very, very long time. And so part of what we're doing is we've recruited folks from all over the world to work on this problem and have really focused on building talent so that we can get to this kind of elite level of Bitcoin mining ASIC performance, which is so specialized. We're also very fortunate to have the capital to invest in something like this. We don't really talk about it that often, but going off on a project like this and building a team, taping out silicon, and being in it for the long haul the way we are requires tens of millions of dollars of capital investment. And we're very fortunate that Block's strategic investment in Bitcoin enables that and enables it in a long-term way. We talked about it here, but for Intel, They had quite a few of the capabilities that they needed to build, but they didn't have that long-term belief in that strategic investment, and that's why they're not around making BZM3.
Max is my new best friend. I think you and Proto and Block are going to be the best friends of miners all around the world in short order. I mean, this is going to unlock so much in Bitcoin mining. I think we're early in Bitcoin mining, and I think this is kind of one of the things that moving forward is what gets us to the next level. That allows Bitcoin mining to proliferate and protect Bitcoin and all of these amazing things. I think it's question time, huh?